the head. Here we go. All right, and we're live. Here we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Lift As We Climb, an online unscripted video show meant to empower people of color to start and grow their own businesses. I'm your host, Mike Stedman. Today, we've got a very special episode. We have Dr. Jeffrey Robinson here from Rutgers Business School, the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development, one of the champions of social impact here at Rutgers and at the state level. So just really a champion of entrepreneurship, particularly for founders of color and social impact. But before we get to Dr. Robinson, I want to do a quick book recommendation for all of you out there, and it's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. The reason I like this book is I deal in social impact, and one of the hardest things early on is how do you explain what it is you're actually doing. And so the nice thing about this book is he really breaks it down for you and helps you articulate complex thoughts and ideas into a framework that he uses for businesses. So essentially he teaches you how to use a framework where you set your business up as a guide, guiding a hero on his journey, and the hero is any client out there that you're gonna be providing services to, or community, kids, whatever. So highly recommend this book. I'll do a review on it at some point, but I just wanted to put this out there so that you guys can take advantage of this and leverage this. So with that being said, really excited to get into this interview. Just to set it up for you all, when I was starting IRONBOUND Boxing, I was super hungry about knowledge and learning more about how to bring my venture to life. And I didn't even realize there was this whole movement around social entrepreneurship and social impact, and that I wasn't the only one. And for my veterans out there, you've heard me talk about going to Stanford University, to the Stanford Ignite program, which really increased my business acumen. And then coming from that program and being able to go right into Dr. Robinson's social entrepreneurship class at Rutgers Business School was just like, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like the biggest gift in the world, because contrary to popular opinion, I keep telling y'all I don't have an MBA. My master's is in American Studies, but I was able to finagle my program director let me take his class. And so appreciate you being on the show. Really excited to have you here. Just real quick for people out there, give a quick introduction about yourself, and then let's dive into social impact.
All right. Well, the great thing about being a professor at Rutgers is you get to meet great students who have great ideas. So I'm glad that we're here on video here today. Jeff Robinson's the name. I'm officially the academic director for our Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. We're celebrating 10 years. I was one of the co-founders of the center, and over those years we've really focused on how do you use entrepreneurship to do economic development type activities. How do you use entrepreneurship to make a social impact? These are some of my specialty areas as a professor and researcher. And I'm just honored to be able to work with people who are trying to make a difference through business.
I think what's important about the work you're doing is, especially now when people are trying to start these social enterprises, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, to give back to the community. If you don't have the right people in your ear, people will talk that down so much. So it was great, for me when I'm trying to do this stuff, and then I see your video on YouTube doing the TEDx talk, and it's like, wow, there are people out there that actually supporting this kind of thinking. But I've noticed that now, like, maybe has it always been that way, where people have kind of shot down, the whole social impact, social entrepreneurship, like, start a profitable business, then do good, not that you can do both at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's business people often who have that frame of mind. We, in the United States, we've made this false dichotomy where all of the social good in the world has to be done by nonprofit organizations. In some cases by government, but and all the business activities, the money-making activities, have to be done by people in business. And there are certainly people who have blurred those lines over the years, but we try to keep those worlds separate. What a lot of social entrepreneurs are saying is, why can't we do both of those things at the same time? And let me go one step further. If you look at the economic history of the United States, you often will see lots of very wealthy people who created their money from creating very large businesses. And then after they've created their money, they've made their money, they create a foundation that does some social good. So think about all the largest foundations in the United States of America, and you can trace the money back to a very big company, the Ford Foundation, the Sloan Foundation,
Hershey. Yeah.
Hershey. You can go down Rockefeller. You can go down the line, and all of those, the money that created those foundations came from some very large businesses. That makes it a very sequential type of arrangement. Now let's talk about sort of more modern times. You've got the largest foundation in the world now is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the reason that exists is because Microsoft and Bill Gates and Microsoft made a lot of money, and then over the years they created their foundation. Now that's what he does most of his work in the foundation. But it didn't, it's still sequential. It's still, I have to believe you're gonna make money over that 15 to 20 year period of time until to make so much money that you're gonna be able to create a foundation. What social entrepreneurs say is, why do we have to wait to do the social good? Why can't we create businesses, business models, hybrid organizations that do the social good simultaneously with the business, with some kind of sustainable business model that allows them to fund the social good? And I know that's what you're doing. Right. And I know that there's a movement of people who are doing that, and these are the people I'm trying to support, because I believe that's what changes things. Now, I have no problem with foundations. Good thing people make them. And I like to see more foundations funding the work that like people like you are doing, because what you're doing is also sustainable over a long period of time. One of the challenges with the nonprofit world, or the social sector in general, is they're always waiting for the next grant to be able to do the next thing. They could be doing some awesome work, but at the end of the grant period, 3 years later, either they have to get another grant or it disappears.
And I think the other challenge too is that first 3 years, if you're starting a nonprofit, no one is really supporting you. Like the big foundations aren't supporting you, because I just ran into this issue with an organization I'm not going to name, but I'm very well educated around nonprofit. I know we just got our IRS status, so we're 501c3 organization. Right. We don't have to file a 990 for 3 years. Yeah,
but they want you to.
But they want you to have 3 years of profit and accounting information on record before they can give you a $1,000 grant.
Right. And that that system that has been built up that way also in some ways makes the nonprofits dependent upon the next grant cycle and all.
And then not to mention, they want you to have a third-party auditor, right,
which costs you money.
Which costs money to come in and look at your books, and then for $1,000, and then you're just sitting here like, dang. How am I going to get started? Well, like the biggest challenges we know for founders of color is friends and family around, access to capital, right? So now you're starting this nonprofit. If you don't have a strong, robust network,
that's right.
Right? Who are you leaning on to get it off the ground?
Absolutely right.
These are the challenges. And at IRONBOUND, I'm blessed to be a veteran, so I have the support of the veteran community, but it's still a hustle. And that's why I love the for-profit model, because there's just such a stigma with nonprofits, right? And you go to all these pitch events or whatever, and then you get up there and you talk about your nonprofits, like you can kind of hear like the air let out the room. But I do feel like when you add a business component to it on a for-profit side, it gets people kind of listen in just a little bit more.
Right. Right. Well, and part of it is if you're dealing with business people or investors who've made their money through entrepreneurship, for them, there has to be a business model that works. I mean, they'll say it in different ways, but they got to see something that has potential, that over the long term. And they think about the nonprofit side as being charity,
right?
And that's the charitable side. But people like you and the other social entrepreneurs that we're trying to cultivate here in the state of New Jersey, you're thinking about how to make that social impact through the business model, and trying to figure out ways that these things can be sustainable over a long period of time. Because if you stop what you're doing, then there's no impact.
Right.
But the way that you've got yours organized, and again, I remember when you brought it to me in class and you were starting to think about it, you've actually done a whole lot to morph it and to modify it and to pivot a bit so that what you're doing actually has some long-term viability.
I think what's interesting about your class too is, when people are telling you their ideas, you say, wait a minute, before you declare it a nonprofit, right? Let's look at your model, and then based off everything we do, then let's see what does it make sense for your business model to be a nonprofit or a for-profit. And I just thought that was so, cool and unique, especially with you educating us on the hybrid model, benefit corporations, and there's all this opportunity out there for social entrepreneurs, but it takes a different level of thinking, right? Like you can't think in that old school way. You got to kind of think new school about building social impact into your DNA, into the very foundation of the business.
Exactly right. And again, that's you took lesson number one from the class. But it's so many people who come up to me and they say, well, the first thing they say to me, I want to create this nonprofit organization that does X, Y, Z. And I'm like, well, how do you know it's going to be a nonprofit? And they just said, well, I just assumed it had to be a nonprofit because I'm going to do this and this and this. I'm like, don't assume that. Tell me what you want to do, and we'll figure it out. Because sometimes a business model might work better that has a for-profit perspective or a hybrid. For you were very clear about where you wanted to make an impact. You were very clear about who you wanted to impact. You were very clear about how you wanted to go about it and these different elements. What wasn't as clear, and now you've really crystallized a lot of this, is how it could be sustainable over the long term. Where the sources of revenues and funding might come from, how you might expand it into other cities and all. And what I hope is that we give you some ways to think about that in the course. But for other entrepreneurs who are out there and thinking about this, this is why you need some training, some education. Yeah. Just like we send entrepreneurs who are doing for-profit businesses to training classes or to boot camps or to accelerators, they get some extra knowledge and some mentorship and all. I mean, that's what social entrepreneurs need too. And sometimes people just kind of go out there and start to do it without being able to think on those other levels or get introduced to different aspects of business modeling.
No, I mean, absolutely. And for me, like one of the things and this is why I like the show is, one strategy I learned about, social impact is you got to just get out there and do it first of all, because whenever you're trying to articulate these thoughts, like, I'm going to do this boxing gym, we're going to fund it free by creating all this business model, whatever, and people think you're in over your head. But guess what? Like, we're literally doing it right now. Like, that's the trippy part about IRONBOUND is like, we're literally doing everything I plan to do. We just need to do it more efficiently and with higher margins. Because like I told you, I created this three-headed monster between the nonprofit, the for-profit, and now my personal brand with Lift As We Climb. But it's crazy that I'm doing this like right now. With like on a shoestring budget. There really is no budget. So no matter how nice the stuff looks, I'm telling you, there's no money there. But we're just able to operate. And for the social entrepreneurs out there, and you heard me say this at your summit, you got to get out there and just get started. You can't wait on somebody to give you money or the government to give you money. You got to go out there and you got to create what it is you're thinking in your head and then show them and then let them be a part of it. Invite them to be a part of it.
And you got to network.
You got to network.
You got to network. It's one of the things I admire about you. You've networked within the veterans community, within the social impact community, and now within the business community to get the resources that you need, to get contracts. To get other resources, for example, your contract with Everlast. Now, sometimes, going out there and doing the networks and being out there on with social media and public relations gets people to come to you. But you still got to know what to do next.
Right.
So again, you've been fortunate that way. But some of this is because you put energy, as I like to say, you put energy into the system. Now the system's bringing some energy back to you.
So, going back, kind of picking up on that too, you mentioned before about like education and creating education to support social entrepreneurs. Yes. Now, there's another stigma, right? The Warby Parkers of the world, where'd they go? Wharton Business School, or Khan Academy, Harvard University. But for people that don't go to these elite institutions, that don't have that strong network, right, or don't have that formal business education, how should the social entrepreneur approach education to bring their venture to life?
Yeah, well, so let me speak to the first part. That it's only the people who are in the elite category that do social entrepreneurship. Well, the truth is that's where this conversation has been taking place for years. The whole conversation about what I just said before about social impact at the same time as creating the wealth that funds that social impact. And so, part of what we've done here at Rutgers and through our New Jersey Social Entrepreneurship Summit is try to bring that conversation to a broader audience. So if you're in an area where these kinds of events and activities are taking place, you got to be there. You hear a whisper about a social entrepreneurship meetup or social entrepreneurship summit or a training workshop, go. Pay the fee, do the registration, get there amongst other people who are like-minded, and that will start the ball rolling. You gotta be engaged. There's a whole language out there that I know I introduced you to in the class, but that you begin to learn when you get out there and start meeting and talking to these folks.
Right.
I mean, there's a term called impact investor.
Right.
And people are like, oh, I never heard that term before. But there is a whole infrastructure now that is built in the financial assets world around this term and these types of investors who are looking for ventures to invest in, organizations to partner with around social impact. If that term didn't mean anything to you, then you're not looking for those folks. But you come to one of my events or one of the events in your area, and they start talking about this. Now you're in a conversation that's different than what the typical nonprofit is talking about, what the typical community activist is talking about. And I'm not saying that folks aren't doing good work. They are, but they're in a different conversation. So the folks who are doing the kind of work you're doing are the folks you want to be around.
Right.
And again, you've won several business plan competitions. And part of, I think, your success is you talk the lingo. You keep telling me, I didn't go to business school. Well, you did. You were in my class.
Yeah, School of Hard
You
Knocks.
didn't get a degree in there, but
Right.
you've been exposed to the lingo and the conversation and the thought process. A lot of folks who are getting into this space from the investor side are people who've made money in lots of different ways. They could give money to charity. They could do all that just like in the traditional approach. But what they're seeing and what they're saying to themselves is, who can I invest in who's more like me as an entrepreneur? Can we use this entrepreneurial model to make social impact? And if we can, how do I support those folks through business plan competitions, mentoring, and through other efforts? So to me, that is part of the secret sauce here for social entrepreneurs. Get immersed in the conversation. Be there. Go to the events at the universities in your city, to the meetups. That's where you're going to get educated in training in some way.
For people of color that don't have a formal education, right, but are trying to do this good work, do you think it's about getting that knowledge out there? Like, hey, this is something, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So there's all these education opportunities, and we know how important it is, but so many of them are busy running their nonprofit and just in the trenches, and they can't fathom, like, I need to take a zoom out of this thing and work on the venture overall, not working in the venture. And even like just terms, value proposition, what do your financials look like? What's your go-to-market strategy? All these terms that are very commonly used in the business community. But I'm be plain honest. Growing up in Texas, raised single parent home, been around people of color my entire life. I never heard value proposition until I went to Stanford. I never heard go-to-market strategy when I went to Stanford. I never heard the three-phase financial model.
Right.
And this is just like common stuff, but it seems like in our community, I don't know if we're just deprived of it or it's just not common lingo, so we don't even know about it.
I mean, it's partly we're not exposed to those conversations. So one of my pet peeves for social entrepreneurship as a movement is that there are people doing great work like what we're talking about who don't get called social entrepreneurs.
Right.
And because they don't get that title, they don't get access to the resources, the conversations in the community. So to me, part of me is trying to flip that a bit. In some of the work I'll be doing in the coming months and years is trying to pull people who have been doing the great work and help them understand that the work that they're talking about, they don't have to change a thing.
Right.
We'll get to change the way we talk about it.
We need to pull them in the lingo, and I think this is a good pivot for Q'd, right?
Yeah.
And I love small businesses. Like, I like this platform because, sometimes when we're starting businesses or think of entrepreneurs, it gets lost in the sauce of like the giant VCs and the angel investors and building this tech company to revolutionize the world. But, there's entrepreneurs out there that are starting small businesses, right, to employ people in their community.
That's right.
To create economic opportunities for the community, donating to small nonprofits here and there. But you're right, they're not getting highlighted, right? We got tons of businesses here locally that people wouldn't even think about. It's not sexy, right? Like you wouldn't think of this person as a social entrepreneur. This person's been hiring and supporting the community from the very beginning. Right. And that's the work you guys are supporting at Q, right?
Absolutely. And just to put a point on what you said, they've gotten into entrepreneurship, into small businesses, and started them and created them because they had multiple objectives. One of them may have been, making some money, but in addition to that, they're also thinking, how can I hire in the community? Maybe I want to hire ex-offenders. Maybe I want to show people that this business it can survive right here in the hood, and that to me is what a lot of the business world has missed. People in business often think, and we teach them this often. We say the reason you're in business is to make money, and as if there's no other objectives. So when we started our Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development, we knew about these other people with other objectives, and many of them were women and people of color. They have multiple reasons why they were putting their businesses together. In fact, that's how I got into this. I did my doctoral dissertation on business owners in Harlem, and I consistently heard, contrary to what I've been taught, that these small business owners were thinking about things beyond the money. So, yeah, I'll make some money, but I also want to do it for the kids in the community. I also want to hire people locally and all these kinds of things. So our work focuses on people who are thinking about those other objectives. Some of them are motivated just on that hiring side. I want to create jobs. So we have a program that works with folks who are trying to create jobs in the state of New Jersey. We have a set of entrepreneurs who are in the arts and media that we work with. And so those entrepreneurs, we created a hub for those entrepreneurs to work with one another. I mean, we've worked with the folks who do I call them the cottage industries, the Etsy folks, the folks who make something and then sell it online. And then we have a whole set of entrepreneurs who are in the technology space. These are entrepreneurs of color, women entrepreneurs who want to create their own technology ventures. And as you said before, we're not getting as much traction on the investment side. And so we've created an initiative to help them get into accelerators. And then we're now at the point where we're putting together our own fund that will also invest in women and people of color. And then of course the social entrepreneurs.
Yeah. One thing I think I appreciate about your program and everyone involved in it is you guys and gals are very grounded. Right? And what do I mean by that? Because a lot of times in the social impact, everybody's trying to chase the new stuff. But you're also saying, hey, we got entrepreneurs that are already out there in the fight.
That's right.
They need to get their businesses cleaned up. So we have programs available for them. People have been running their business 10 years and never looked at a three-phase financial model.
That's right.
Just looking at their bank account. And so I think it's super, quite frankly, dope that you guys are doing that kind of stuff. Because even in Newark, there's a lot of infrastructure coming to Newark. Newark's a new tech hub, whatever. We need to recruit businesses to come to Newark. You got entrepreneurs like myself who's like, hey, we're here. We've been here for 4 years, and people longer than that. Mm-hmm. Like, let's keep our businesses alive before we start bringing other people in. And I applaud the work that you guys are doing around that. And then here's another thing, which is very near and dear to my heart, by the way, is I've done a lot of entrepreneurial programs. I've been blessed to go to one of the best schools in the country, Naval Academy, which is open doors. Mm-hmm. And everywhere I've gone, for the most part, I've been like one of one, mm-hmm. or one of two at most. Most of the time, I'm like the only black male.
Yeah.
But when I came to this boot camp y'all had, it was so amazing to walk into Rutgers and just see so much diversity. Right. And I already saw that in my American Studies class, but it was just refreshing to be around business and see the same reflection, even in your social entrepreneurship class. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I've changed my lingo to, going up in the South, it's always, black people this, black people that. I say people of color now, because guess what? We're all in it, yeah. Black, Latino, Asian, yeah. You name it. And Rutgers does a great job of reflecting that to where you come in these environments and you feel like a safe space. And I've been blessed to meet so many amazing entrepreneurs.
That's what we're trying to create. You said a safe space, but also a space where you can be mentored, and where you can have a space for achievement. So often people are underestimating and there's underachievement. But we're talking about how to be successful and to achieve. And yes, your peers and classmates that are in there with you, you feel comfortable because you're like, wow, we're all in this together. We're here together.
For people like me, like I'm a veteran, I get free office space thanks to the GI Go Fund and WeWork and all these different things. But for those founders of color that are in the fight, right, that don't have access to technical assistance, like what advice do you give to them to go find it?
A lot of this is regional. You got to find where the resources are. I know part of the challenge often is if I live in a rural area, way out in the sticks somewhere, I'm not getting access. But there are some places, some hubs of activity. I know some folks in Arkansas who have the innovation hub there. There's some folks who I know who are in Alabama. We got DC contingent, Atlanta. I work with some folks out of DC and Boston. I mean, so there are places where you can sort of get in where you fit in. But what you got to do is some research to find out which is the one that's closest to you, who's doing it. Often the programs are regional or national, and they'll fly you in. If you've got the right stuff, they'll say, okay, why don't you come here? We're going to do a boot camp. We're going to pay for you to come here. So that's where the hustle is, finding those things. We've run a national program here a couple of times.
Yep.
And
meeting people from Chicago, all over.
They're from all over. So that's just Rutgers. There are other universities and programs that are out there, and for what I say to people is, this is what you want to do. You want to get connected to a community. That network is going to be powerful for you because those will be people who you can connect with and then continue to grow.
I'm going to give you all a plug for some technical assistance I learned from you that can be scaled nationally, which is, you have universities, community colleges where they have these practicums, right, where people need to get the real world experience. Dr. Robinson gave me an intro to the Rutgers Consulting Group. I was able to present my venture to them, and I had 8 MBA students working on my venture over the course of a semester, helping me build out the financial model and do all that kind of stuff. Now, granted, I gave them a lot of information up front, so they knew I wasn't playing around, but that costs nothing. Right?
That's
just needs a good network and an introduction. And that's on the for-profit side. And then on the non-profit side.
And most business schools have some kind of initiative like that for a capstone class for undergrads or for a course like that, a similar course from the graduate level. And they will take on projects and clients. And again, you're right in the right space.
So if you're in Texas, you're in Maryland, look up those universities. Look up a university nearby you.
That's right.
And see if you can get your venture in front of them. And then on the non-profit side of the house, or for-profit as well, they have these transactional lawyering clinics, right? I paid $25 to get my nonprofit registered with the IRS, right?
That's right.
I had lawyers that were on their 3rd year of grad school.
It would have cost you thousands of dollars to get that done. 6,000 or 7,000.
Lawyers who were, law students who were on their 3rd semester.
Almost done.
3rd year, almost done. And guess what? They got nothing but time to work on this stuff to get that real world experience. And so these are opportunities that are out there available for people.
That's right.
And that's why we need platforms like that to push that information.
That's right. There are resources out there, and again, you got to uncover them in your community.
So, real quick, you got any save rounds for our audience before we let them go for today?
Look, if you've got a good idea, I know this guy has good ideas. I've seen him as they've grown. If you have a good idea, something that you think is going to make an impact, there are people out there who will support you. You've got to uncover them. You got to network. And you can't be afraid to share the idea. So some people get so caught up sometimes, thinking somebody's going to steal my idea, someone's going to take my idea. Number one, if it's that easy to steal, it wasn't a good idea. And number two, each idea should be something you are uniquely prepared to do something about, that other people can't just walk in there and do. That's something about you and your experience. Nobody can do what you do.
Right.
And if that's the case, then you shouldn't be afraid of trying to tell people a little bit about it. And that gets the ball rolling, because you can't get those resources if nobody knows what you're doing.
Thank you. All right, you got to put the idea to the universe. Yes. Ideas can't grow in a bubble. With that being said, people are looking for more of the programs offered by CUDE or you personally, where can they find you at?
That's right. Well, you can go to our Rutgers Business School website. So you're going to go to business.rutgers.edu/CUEED. That's CUDE. Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. You can obviously do a search on those words and you'll find us.
And they have national programs too. So again, I've done stuff and I've met people from Chicago, from Detroit, all over the country. So I want to thank you for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. For those of you out there that like this content, I need you to go to ironboundboxing.org and donate. Your donations are run through our nonprofit Ironbound Boxing Education, which is meant to empower people of color in the inner city through boxing programs for youth and young adults, and then also educational content built around entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and health and wellness. Again, our gym in Newark is our flagship. We got to keep this gym going. It does great for the kids. It keeps them out the street, but we can't do it alone. We need you to go out there and support. I want to give a special shout out to our sponsors, Dope Coffee, a coffee line that's dropping here soon, built around specialty coffee and specialty products. Just super happy to be associated with them. And then got to give a shout out to the Newark Project for this shirt. Newark is for the hustlers. So man, it's a great city. It's a great time to be an entrepreneur, right. And we just got to make sure we keep lifting as we climb, because there's so many of you out there that are in the trenches every single day, just don't feel like you're supported or you haven't taken a leap. And I want you to know it is possible, and we're here to support, and we're going to produce dope content to help you on your climb up. So until next time, thank you, and looking forward to dropping some more content for you all.